Hey, the 15 subscriber celebration. Yeah. Bringing in those YouTube ad dollars.
We've made it to the big time, boys and girls.
Yeah. It's not easy being at the top. I just want to let you guys know. What are you drinking today, buddy?
Well, because we got so much ad revenue from our new subscribers, I upgraded to Black and Tan. I got two beers in one. Yingling Black and Tan, your favorite.
Yay, my fave. So I got my other fave, Miller High Life. Just like I said from last podcast. Remember I said, when you watch Brightburn, you gotta get some Miller High Life and have a couple cold ones with the boys. You're in for a real treat.
I did crack a couple cold ones during Brightburn, for sure.
See, you listen to my advice and you watched it as intended. So if you don't like it, then at least you gave it its fair chance. So we'll get into it. I'll always decide, except for last month. So which movie would you guys like to do this time? Oh, and in the list, I always list them all off. So we got Brightburn, we got Happy Death Day, we got
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and
Annabelle Comes Home.
Annabelle Comes
I
Home.
ain't helping you.
Last month,
you need to come up with
you
things.
remember
last
the
month
least
I said
of
I was
them.
gonna remember all four, and then I only remembered two this time. It's just on the spot, man. I don't have a list in front of me. Even though I have notes for all four movies, I wanted to know if I could do it, and I failed.
Well, you definitely failed this time.
Yeah. So where do you guys wanna start off at? You guys wanna start at Brightburn?
Yeah, I mean,
that's fine.
That's fine.
All right. So I guess do I do two summaries this week since I recommended two?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So Brightburn is a movie about if Superman was a bad guy. So it's got this like horror movie scenario where this kid he crash lands just like Superman, and he's basically a god like Superman, but he's hearing the wispies, the wispies in his ear from the spaceship. And it's telling him to do bad things. It's telling him to take over the world, kill everybody, do all that. And he's like, you know what? That makes sense to me. So he starts doing it, and they try to unravel it. They don't think it makes sense that their little kid can do these things. So obviously they don't jump to that conclusion. But then as it starts to unwind, they're like, oh, it must be him. Like, everybody that keeps dying is like someone who just pissed him off. So he didn't watch Death Note, unfortunately, or he would have known how to do it, without bringing suspicion to himself. But nope, I guess it didn't really matter though, since he's OP as hell. So yeah, it goes through and they all die. Everyone dies, and there's a big middle finger in the end, which I'll get into. I'll get into my feelings about the end and the whole thing. So, what did you guys think of Brightburn?
Honestly, dislike. I just was not huge on like the cheesy effects, and I don't know. I just couldn't get into it.
All I kept thinking the entire time was, I have the same sheets as that kid on my bed.
See, that relatable.
The prop people must have shopped at IKEA when it was on clearance, like I did.
Don't you love it in the school scene in the beginning when they're like, today's lesson is on bees, and they just like start talking about bees, like a bunch of shit about bees, and then the kid's like, wasps are killer bees, they kill all the other bees, and then and then the chick looks at him and is like, smart guys are the best, or something like that, and he's
Smart
like,
guys grow up to rule the world, so it's like foreshadowing or whatever, I guess.
yeah, and he's like,
technically.
yeah, I like her because she said I'm awesome.
I feel like they could come up with something better for his mask, because every time I keep thinking, his mask reminded me on like one of them covers that goes on a ball that you hit in like grade school with the laces and stuff.
Yeah. Well, what?
And I was like, go ahead.
No, wasn't his mask supposed to be like the sheet that he came down in the spaceship in when he? Because wasn't it the same material as the little, like the blanket he was wrapped in as a baby?
I'm not sure, honestly.
If so, I didn't notice that, but I thought his mask looked cool. I like his mask.
No.
No?
It's fine. It's I mean, well, I haven't said I wasn't a fan of this movie either. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it was not a good movie. I'll just leave it at that. But if they were going the superhero villain route, it didn't connect for me. Like, basically, we saw him drawing a mask in his notebook once, and then he's based the next scene when he kills somebody, he's like a full-on superhero, and he's got the whole outfit made, and it's just, it was, they skipped a couple steps there. It just kind of went from
Yeah.
0 to
But
100 immediately.
It does give the impression that there's got to be like a deleted scene or something there between those.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to get this runtime down, all right? The people going to the theater to see Brightburn are not patient people. We
No,
gotta cut this stuff out.
I loved the runtime. I was like, we are great on the runtime. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it was pretty quick
You're like-
down, which I was glad because I wasn't enjoying it.
Yeah, I think we're going to give it extra credits for that, just because most of the movies we watch for this podcast are like 2 hours or more. So you see one, you're like an hour and 20, and you're like, you know what? Thank you.
Actually, none of them was 2 hours.
Yeah, this one wasn't like that, but I'm just saying, like, that's like the average.
Yeah,
probably.
I think Scary Stories was the longest one, and that was like an hour and 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, Annabelle was like, I think was an hour and 46, so they were like a minute apart, so, but not much.
Yeah.
You knew he was going to be a villain because he has Raggedy Ann wallpaper.
Yeah.
He's a fan of Annabelle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't, like, the movie wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. It just, it was trying to be too much, I think. It was trying to be, like, a somewhat reinvention of a superhero type movie, but it also was trying to be a horror movie, and it didn't really do any of it very well, in my opinion. Maybe it was the runtime, but it just seemed like they glossed over both genres, and there was a couple jump scares, but nothing that would really classify it as horror. It was more of just like a bratty little coming of age story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have went without his dad and his conversation about like sex and stuff. I was like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to.
Yeah, that.
This was because he's talking to like a child, and I know they probably edited it, so that the kid wasn't really there and stuff. I'm just saying, like, in the movie, it was very awkward for me. I was like,
Yeah, there were like maybe 2 or 3 scenes in the movie that kind of felt like they were being played for comedy, but the rest of the movie was dead serious, and that was what was funny to me. It was like, do you realize what movie you're making? Why are you taking it so seriously?
Yeah, it's not self-aware at all.
No.
And that's what makes it funny for me, is because instead of like things killing or zombievers, you're not laughing with it, you're laughing at it. Like, you're laughing at the movie because it's trying to be so serious, and it just is so dumb, and it's so much fun, though. It's dumb fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, I will say that.
I probably wouldn't watch it again, but I mean, it's not horrible.
Yeah, I mean, can we go into a couple of nitpicks?
Yeah.
Obviously.
So that's all we do, I know. If you're watching, we're the nitpick squad. So the when they were at the pizza parlor or wherever they were, and the guy gets him a birthday present, I thought it was so rude that they like complained about the gun in like front of everyone. I'm like, why don't you just take it home or just put it in the car and just like throw it away afterwards or something and just like be polite? But no, that was like a big scene. They were like,
Well, I had a similar thought where, like, when the dad freaks out, like, no, he can't have a gun, but then he still takes it with him. Like, that's rude. Like, oh, you
Yeah.
spent $100 on this gun or however much guns cost, and then I'm not going to give it to my son, but I'm still going to take it so you can't return it and get your money back. I'm just going to put it in a closet.
Well, he ends up using it later. Like, the dad ends up using the son's birthday present.
Yeah.
to try to kill him.
Well, when they did take
It
the
reminded me of the kid from Big Daddy. It'd be so funny if he shooted him and he was like,
wait, what? The kid from Big Daddy?
it'd be really hard to explain the reference, but like, I don't know. Never mind. Moving on. Moving on.
But yeah, when they did take the gun, like I was like, this makes no sense. But then I was like, this is obviously gonna be a big turning. It's gonna come back. The gun is gonna be used on somebody important later, and it was.
Yeah.
So it was. I mean, it was a pretty predictable movie. There was nothing in it that happened that was like there was no twist or any kind of like nothing that surprised me really.
I don't know. So there was one thing, and I'm going to get into this real quick. There was one thing that I liked that really did surprise me, and that was they set it up throughout the movie like, oh, this material in the ship it can cut him and stuff, and they set up this ending, and I expected her to like stab him and it'd be like that, but no, he just wins in the end.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I loved that they went in that direction because I didn't expect it to go that way. Maybe everyone else and their mom thought that was going to go that way, but I didn't. So I loved the FU in the end, and that it wasn't like, and that it just, I like movies that have endings that are not satisfying, and that definitely did that. And I was like, nice, that was some balls at least in the end there.
Yeah, I thought he would at least spare his mother, if not both of them.
It was pretty cool when he dropped her from the clouds, though. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then he did the plane thing. They spent the whole budget in the end of the movie. That's why all the other effects look like shit. And
Yeah.
then, like, some of the effects later on are actually pretty good.
Yeah, I thought the as for effects, the uncle, like his broken off jaw. I mean, it was obvious. It was very CG, but it still looked kind of cool, and that was the only moment in the movie that I was like, oh.
Yeah,
Like that's the only
no.
moment that got like a genuine reaction out of me that wasn't sarcastic and ironic.
Yeah, somebody worked hard on that. You know, and what's funny is they played that scene for comedy. That kill was played for comedy.
Yeah.
But then, like, the little girl's mom scene was played straight, or whatever, when she did, like, pull the glass out of her eye, which is probably the best scene of the movie overall, composed-wise.
Yeah,
I don't know, that's the most effective one for me.
Yeah, that was the one that was in the trailer, because I think they played this before It Chapter 2, or
Yeah.
they played it at somewhere where I
At
went to
one
see a
of them.
movie.
I don't know if it was It Chapter 2, because I think it came out earlier, but I know what you mean.
We did see it in theaters. Oh, I know what it was. I think it was Pet Cemetery.
Okay. But like yeah, that the scene with the waitress, the mom in the diner, that was pretty much the whole trailer. And it like that really was, you could tell that was the one they were like, all right, we have to get this horror right because this is the trailer. The rest of it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we gotta get butts and seats, and otherwise it's gonna suck. See what else?
But yeah, the glass in the eye was cool and the jaw, but the laser eyes, like when he just shoots lasers out of his eyes, that was
God.
that was the stupidest
That was like
choice.
After Effects CC stock effect.
It was so
Yeah, that wasn't
generic.
good.
It was pretty generic and
Yeah, it's like they did like a motion track of the eyes, and then they just like threw on the effect in After Effects, and they tweaked like 3 things, and they're like done.
Well, not
It was
even
like
just
a meme.
not even just the effect, like the writing of that. It's like what's his power? He shoots lasers out of his eyes. Like that was the first thing they came up with, and they were like, all right, moving on. Got to get this done in the next 20 minutes.
Yep.
Got to pump out that script.
I mean, it's not like we haven't seen laser eyes before.
Yeah, I mean, I personally was like, what's with the gun thing? Because I was like, Tasha asked me when did I get my first gun, and I think I was either 6 or 8 when my dad gave me my first gun. So I saw that and I was like, hey, he's kind of old for his first gun. That's probably Southern West Virginia coming out right there.
Well,
so.
Yeah.
But like it was a farmer in rural Kansas, so it's like the kid should probably have used a gun before, or like it did seem weird to me that it I think the casting of the parents was off. Well, the casting of the kid and the parents, I think they were all wrong. Like the dad was not believable as like this farm like tough guy.
Yeah, he seemed like a very reasonable, like it didn't seem like he was a farmer. I know what you mean by that. Not that farmers are unreasonable. That was weird. But no, he seemed like he seemed like the desk job type of guy to me.
Yeah, and I think probably because the whole time in the movie, I was like, where have I seen him before? And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh, he was Pam's boyfriend for the first season of The Office. And I was like, he looks so familiar. Maybe that's why he seemed like a desk job kind of guy.
Yeah, that's a good possibility.
I've never even seen The Office, so.
You're not missing too much.
Somebody in the comments, if you think that I'm gonna keep listening after you said that about my favorite show.
Hey, we stand community on this podcast, or at least I do.
All right, let's see. Do I have any other nitpicks that I want to talk about, or can we move on from this shitty movie?
Pretty much.
Can I just shotgun go through them in like 30 seconds?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, I wrote, arrest this 12-year-old. You know, because he was like, arrest him after he like gripped her hand and broke her hand. He was like, you better arrest this kid or something. I was like, I don't know. I don't think that's how that works, but you know, whatever. Let's see. I thought he overreacted to finding out he had been adopted. I don't know. I just thought that was like a movie trope. But I've never met somebody who finds out that they're adopted and it's like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
They probably found out much sooner than when he found out, though.
But he knew he was adopted. It was when his mom told him he was an alien, right? Because, like, the dad, I wrote that in my notes, like, very nonchalantly in the beginning of the movie. The dad's like, the first couple years after you were adopted, I didn't really know what to do. And I was like, oh, that's just how you're going to announce that whole, like, that big plot point. Just throw it casually in a sentence.
Yeah. Exposition.
What else you got?
Let's see what else I got here. So restless 12-year-old overreaction. Let's see. Oh yeah, the therapist is like, walk home by yourself in the dark, kid. All right, good luck. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like the kid comes to intimidate her or whatever. It's like, go home, and it's like so dark outside or whatever. I'm just like, I don't know, if a kid did that, I'd be pissed, but I'd probably take them home.
Yeah, the kid's still your nephew. Like, you can't just say, get out of here, go walk in the dark.
Yeah. The one shot reminded me of Curse of the Demon Baby. That had like where it had her nightmare, and it had like the awful looking demon baby. Where like she was turned around and then she turned and it was like or whatever, it had like the teeth.
Yeah.
And I was like, that reminded me straight up of the Curse of the Demon Baby from Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good house.
It was a good house.
Yeah, just the fact that it reminded me of that got it some bonus points. And then I just put I like that everyone dies in the end. You know, I like that.
Okay.
And obviously they played that overplayed song during the credits. It's like, I'm a bad guy.
Oh, is it Billie Eilish or Eilish or however you say her name?
Yeah, well, however you pronounce it, yeah. The one that is always in those Adobe Creative Cloud commercials that I see all the time on YouTube.
I always get my best ideas when I'm dreaming.
We make fun of everything. Somebody's gonna get mad at us, but it's okay.
You got anything else, Jay?
No, it was just it was never going to be a good movie. It was obvious this was an idea that was done by the studio. They were like, we need to reinvent the superhero genre. Let's have I don't know, how about a kid that's evil Superman? And then they wrote, the script was written in an hour or less. But like something like that can be fine if you're aware. Like they're treating the audience like they're stupid and they're going to buy into this terrible story. It's like, if your story is terrible, like, be self-aware and acknowledge it and kind of make fun of yourself a little bit. That's what drew me out of it. Like, it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen by any stretch, but I would never watch it again just because it's not going to be funny a second time, because it's not trying to be funny. Like, it's only funny because it's so cringy bad.
Yeah.
But
I got you.
Yeah, overall it
was that your rating?
No.
Oh, I haven't given my number yet, but we can move into that unless Tasha has anything else.
No, I'm good. Well, since it was your movie, Mike, go ahead and
I get to rate it first. All right, so in summary, I think that they at least tried something new and it didn't work. So I'd rather them do that than the industry stagnate, because like sometimes you try something that doesn't work. At least they took a small risk, but at the same time they did something new, but then they played it straight with the execution. They didn't really take a huge risk with the way that they executed it, so it's kind of like two factors on that. So I'm not gonna give it too much credit for that. But I enjoyed making fun of it when I first watched it, and like Jake said, it doesn't have that much rewatchability. In fact, I enjoyed it way, way, way less the second time after I recommended it for you guys this time. So I'm gonna say my first viewing, I'd probably give it like an average score, so like a 5 out of 10. But because I watched it the second time and the way I feel about it now, I'm actually gonna give it a 3.
Okay. All right. Want me to go ahead and go?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm not a huge Superman fan, so that was one thing that was already kind of steered away for me. Wasn't big on the effects or pretty much any of the story. I did like the end where everyone died, so basically I'm going to have to give it a 4.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Gotta silence my phone, guys. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
I'm gonna give it a 3 as well, just like Mike. It wasn't a good movie, like I said, which isn't always a deal breaker as long as a movie is self-aware enough to give the audience credit. And I really didn't connect to any of the characters. The parents were.
We were talking about that.
The parents were too like bubblegummy and like they were just overly supportive and loving in the beginning to just an unrealistic point, and then it just completely shifts and they shoot their child in the face, and then the kid, yeah, he's an alien and they're telling him to do bad things, but it's just like that's not a good motivation. Like basically the kid was an asshole and there was no reason for us to like root for him, and basically it was like the main character of your movie is unlikable and not relatable in any way. So it was just, I felt they needed to do more to like maybe give him some internal conflict over killing his entire family, or like have him like a legitimate reason why the aliens are like need him to kill everybody, or that would have helped
point.
the movie a little bit for me. So.
One thing I forgot to mention that reminded me of when you were like that, when you were talking about it, is I personally thought that most of the acting in this movie was a cut above the quality of the movie itself. So, the cast in this movie, for what the writing was, they really brought as much as they could have, I think.
Yeah.
So I just want to give them credit. That's my opinion anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do y'all want to go ahead and do Annabelle?
Yeah, that's fine.
Sure.
Alright. So I recommended Annabelle Comes Home, and basically at the beginning, the Warrens are like in the nurse's apartment, getting ready to pick up Annabelle, and they take her in the car, and then there was like a really bad accident on their way home, and basically Annabelle was like trying to interfere with all the other spirits in the cemetery. And then when they got home, they basically, had to bring a priest in and basically put holy water and all this stuff and put her in her cabinet. Then later on, their daughter Judy goes to school and she's picked on because everybody thinks she's a freak and they're scared of her because what her parents does. And basically the mom and dad goes away for the week for probably like another case or something, so she's home with her babysitter, and her babysitter basically has her friend over named Daniela, and Daniela's like really interested in the Warren's house because she wants to kind of try to see if she can reconnect with her dad, because her dad passed away in a car accident, which later on you find out that she was the one driving and she blames herself, so she just wants that last little bit to tell him that she's sorry and all that good stuff. And she goes down there and basically she's interfering with spirits, and Annabelle gets out of her cabinet and basically interfere with all the other spirits that they dealt with, and they're basically having to stop them, pretty much.
Yeah.
And they lock her back in the end.
Yeah, they of course lock her back in. But if anybody sees The Conjuring, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Can I intro with a few things on this one?
Yeah.
No.
So, okay, go ahead, Jake.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I know. You go ahead. I want to take another swig of my delicious Miller High Life. So you go ahead.
I liked this movie. It wasn't definitely not the best in the Conjuring universe. It wasn't the worst Annabelle movie. I think two was still the best, but it was fine. It just didn't.
You mean Creation?
Yeah, Creation.
Fuck yeah. I love Creation.
Very aggressive.
It's the only good one. But go ahead.
No, I think this wasn't a bad movie. I think it's just it suffers. The whole series has this fatigue, especially after The Nun. I kind of was done with the Conjuring universe after that. I think if this movie had come out like it was the third or fourth in like the Conjuring series, it was one of the early spin-offs, it would be a fantastic movie. I think it's just it didn't do anything new. Like it kind of hit all the same beats as the previous ones, but it didn't do anything bad. It's just they did everything well. It didn't really excite me all that much, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I did think that this movie had a lot of ups and downs. It had a lot of, like, I paid attention the whole time. And it had areas of the movie where I was engaged. And it had other areas of the movie where I was bored out of my mind. And for me, it was that up and down and up and down and up and down. And I feel like that it could have been trimmed back. It could have been compressed a little bit into a more interesting movie if it was just a little shorter. If they would have just deleted a little bit of that filler stuff.
Okay.
What
else did? No, that's.
What did you think, Tasha?
Yeah.
I mean, I liked it overall. The only thing I'm really getting tired of is, like, I'm getting tired of them always opening up with the nurses, and it's like, oh, we gotta, take the doll, she's possessed type deal. I'm just getting really...
Oh, thank you, yes.
I'm just getting so sick of that with every single one. They have to re-mention it, like this is the first one.
Yeah, and James did such a good job with the first Conjuring and the second one. And I feel like all these movies are just really just trying to be like, remember Conjuring? This is a little bit part of that. Remember Conjuring? All the time.
Yeah, they're trying. I do appreciate that they try, like every movie tries to introduce a new kind of demon. They're trying to come up with the next Nun or like that monster that's gonna like.
It's like the Marvel MCU for horror movies.
That's exactly. I have that in my notes. Like when they're all in their little vignettes and they're all fighting a different demon, I'm like, oh, it's the Conjuring Avengers assembling for the final act.
That's hilarious. I didn't say that. I just came up with that on the fly, but that's so funny. Because that's exactly what it is. It's like it's panning and it's like, and you get a heart, and you get a heart, and you get a heart.
One of my favorite scenes is like, okay, Annabelle is in Judy's room, and when the light falls off on the floor and you see her go from a little girl to a woman and then to the demon, I kind of like.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
this.
or go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that was the cool effect, and I think that was like the high point in the movie for me. But I like I was saying a second ago, I like that this movie, or all the movies, try to introduce new demons and new kind of like little, not skits or like signatures, like the little game where you put your hand in. They tried to make that scary, like the color light that you mentioned. Like they try to introduce like little signatures that are memorable, and none of them this time really landed for me, except the kind of color changing light and the shadow effect. But I like that they're always trying new things in these movies like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the color changing thing. That was my favorite thing.
Yeah, speaking of that same scene, I just thought it was really bizarre that the babysitter went in there to check on Judy and she was asleep, and she sees Annabelle sleeping right next to her, and then she pulls the covers up up above both of them like it's nothing. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, is it not a concern that Annabelle's sleeping next to Judy? I mean,
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, the creepy ass doll that's just like, oh, she probably plays with that all the time in this house
Yeah,
of haunted things.
To be fair, like if you're babysitting like the daughter of like Ed and Lorraine Warren, you're like, she's probably just weird. You're like, everybody in this universe, everybody knows about
But-
the Warrens, and I guess some people knew about them back then that were
But-
into this stuff, and
I guarantee there was a picture of Annabelle like in the paper, so she would probably know what Annabelle looks like.
Yeah.
in this story, that's true. That's a good point on the plot hole side. Is like everybody knows in that town and in this universe that have been interacting, because that's the whole premise of the school bullying thing.
Yep.
Is that everybody knows. So her babysitter would know about Annabelle. So that's a good thought. They probably missed that. Tasha's there for the ultimate nitpick.
But I was getting a lot of It Follows vibes in the beginning, like the first act. Like the
Yeah, a bunch of hipsters. Yeah.
Well, no, not that. I mean, like when the car stops in front of the cemetery, and then there's all the ghosts kind of just standing in the background. And when the little girl, I don't remember the daughter's name, when she was at the school and she was kind of walking, and there was that old man that was just he was always in the background of the shot, like slightly out of focus. Like, I love that type of stuff. That makes me feel so uneasy if there's just something in, like, a person in the background that's not the main focus, and it's just like I thought that was awesome. Like, the first act of this movie was great, and then it just kind of it got into a little cheese fest territory towards the end.
Yeah, and it hinted that it was going to do that, because this segues perfectly into what I was about to say. But I think this director could have done a little bit better if they didn't have to confine to the Warren house for the premise of the movie, because I loved when the car broke down at the beginning, and for some reason this guy loves fog. He likes pumping that fog in.
Yeah.
He's coming on
everywhere.
He's pumping it. Yeah, he's like, this scene. You know what this scene needs? More fog. He's just like rolling it in. For the audience, I'm like really getting into it. But anyways, and so one thing I knew about the Cheese Fest was at the beginning when Ed was like repairing the car and the thing popped out and just like shoved him across, and it just looked really cheesy, and I'm like, oh. Yeah. But thankfully it was a little bit better than that. I think that was the worst like effect in the movie as far as cheesy goes, was that push for some reason for me. Really pulled me out of it. But the rest of them were pretty good. And you said, in particular, like the whole out of focus thing did it for you. For me, and I told Tosh about this during the movie, is I really like secret passageways in homes. Like, for some reason, when I was like, you know how a lot of what you're afraid of comes from your childhood? That's why I'm afraid of like scarecrows, and like the Scarecrow house does it for me, because I like grew up in like a real rural area and I saw those. But also, like, I used to have nightmares all the time where there was like, I would go into a closet and it was in like a house that we lived in, and there would always be like a secret passageway or something, and there would be something bad in the passageway. So whenever the movie goes there, I'm like, so yeah, that scene did it for me. That had the quarters on the eyes and stuff. I was like, that's pretty scary. But then they had to ruin it with the cheesy jump scare in the end. But anyways.
Well, there's probably like a jump scare, like per capita they have to hit,
Yeah, this movie was a jump fest. That's one thing it's got going against it. Is like after the first couple, I stopped trusting that they're going to be executed well. Because, like, that's what Annabelle Creation did. There was a lot of jump scares in that movie, but they all felt, like, really earned, and all, like sometimes they wouldn't happen, and sometimes they would. With this one, it was, like, after the first couple times where they got me, after that, I was, like, every time a jump scare happened, I was not having it.
Yeah, it was...
They lost me.
Yeah, they didn't... That was my one complaint about Annabelle Creation, though, is that they got a little too self-indulgent with the jump scares, where they would set up a jump scare for, like, 10 minutes. No plot would happen. It would just be 10 minutes set up for a jump scare. And it's like that was a little much. But this movie, you're right, it was like they rushed the jump scares. It was like a 10-second setup, and then the payoff. There was no tension to be like
Yeah.
released when the jump scare happened. But
Yeah. And there were just things in there that I felt like could have been edited out. For example, the scene where she holds up the cross, and looks the other way when the other chick's charging at her with the knife,
Yeah.
and then it cuts back to her and she's like praying or whatever when it comes. I just felt like that section would have been more effective if we didn't see as much of that afterwards of her like, doing the praying and doing that stuff. I don't know. There's a few things in the editing that I was like, I feel like it would have been more effective if they would have done this. But what do I know? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I make really crappy horror shorts. This guy could definitely make something better than me. So.
yeah, I don't. My biggest not gripe, but it's just like a creative choice that I didn't like, or I would have definitely done differently. Is they kind of set up in the beginning that the daughter is sensitive to spirits like her mother, like she can see them, and she kind of they set up that she's interested in the cases and she goes in there and reads them sometimes. So I thought she was gonna basically like step in and fill the shoes of her parents and like stop the demons, but no, they just hit play on a film reel and her dad through like Skype exorcises the demons and gets like kills them. So it was a setup that was so there, and it would have been great, like it would have given her an arc in the movie, but they didn't do anything with it, and they just I don't know why, because they had all the pieces to do it.
I think it's because they want to use her more for future movies. That's why.
But then make her,
I think that they want to make her go through more of an arc. Because if they give that to her in this movie, then in the next movie, then the people will wonder why that she doesn't just go to that first.
I guess, but
I liked the projector thing. That's in my notes. So this is divisive here. I liked it. I thought it was interesting. I didn't see it coming. I know that sounds obvious now afterwards, but they played it in the beginning, and I was like, okay, so she's watching her parents do something kind of creepy. That's part of them that she probably doesn't want to see. She doesn't want to see that part of who they are, and then they fire it up, and it just so happens that they paused it on that. And I was like, well, if now she should just carry around like some kind of way of like. Just doing that all the time.
Just carry like a cassette tape of her dad exorcising a demon around at all times. Those probably didn't exist in the 60s or whenever this was, but...
Oh, you just need to put it on a record.
Apparently, even the pixels on something, if they're shaped like a cross, then they're infused with God's glory. Even if they're pixels and they're not even like a wooden thing, a physical object. See, why would you even buy a cross? You could just buy a thing at Walmart and just like put a cross and like, or just make it so it projects the cross.
Make it your phone background and
and just bring out your phone and unlock it. That would be Annabelle 12. Annabelle 12 dark web.
Oh, God. If you have anything else.
Yeah, I didn't even pull out my notes. So,
but the most important question: choose your Avenger. Who is your favorite monster in this movie?
Choose your Avenger.
I mean,
despite how shitty the movie is, I like the Nun. Even though I hate the movie.
No,
I
like
like
in this movie
Nun
specifically, what was your favorite?
in this movie, yeah. I like obviously either between Annabelle or the Ferryman.
Yeah.
The guy with the coins on his eyes.
Yeah, he was my favorite too. That was the only one that I liked, but they did kind of do it cheesy. His jump scare was pretty cheesy, but that was the scariest one. I thought the werewolf was just like, all right, we need another monster. Let's just have like a werewolf. Easy.
Yeah.
Done.
And we'll make it come from the fog. More fog. No fog was killed in the making of this movie.
Yeah, no people were killed in this movie. That's my other thing. It's like there was literally no deaths.
No consequences, yeah. You unlocked it. I thought at least, like when... that reminds me. I didn't even put this in my notes. But they said she wants a soul, just like in The Conjuring 2, but she never gets a soul. So, like, what's the point of the setup if there's no payoff?
Yeah.
I thought that the girl that wanted to see her dad, I thought she was going to be toast. I knew that the other girl wasn't because they set up a love interest for her
Oh,
But
and
the-
Bob got balls.
Right, Bob's got they got the Scott balls. He's like Steve the Kayak King. He's the cousin of Steve the Kayak King.
Yeah. Or grandfather,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll do my shotgun notes. You guys ready for these? And then we can have conversations based on if you guys
Yep.
think.
Do it.
Go.
Okay, I say, how you gonna burn my cake, dude? So she just burned the cake, letting out the, Bob has the exact same guitar as me. The same one. I'm pretty sure that's a Stratocaster acoustic guitar, and if so, it's the same one, same color. Probably came from the same store.
It's funny.
I mean, fog joke. Multicolored lights were cool. We already went through that. God, too many horror movie whispers cliche in this movie. That shit was pissing me off so bad. I don't know why it was making me so mad. But in my first couple shorts that I made, I would put those like whispers from like free sound websites and stuff. Where it's like, and so anytime I see anybody else do it because of my past, like using it poorly, I just think of that and it makes me cringe. So it's not their fault; it's my fault for making bad things and it reminding me of those things. So that's personal to me, but I don't like that thing. Anyways, just shake the key out of the box. You don't have to stick your hand in it. You know,
Yeah.
I kind of like the box game thing, but when they wanted the key, they should have picked it up and tried to shake it. You know. I don't know why. That's another little nitpick. I like the design of the lantern that they're holding when they go into the back area, the secret passageway.
Yeah.
You know, for the coin face. Like, I like the design of that lantern. I want that lantern. And I just put projector exorcism was cool.
Okay.
So that's all. That's it for me.
I'm good. Jake, you have anything else?
Do you think that these actresses have a future in the series, or do you think, since this movie wasn't very critically accepted, that
Just
they're going to
the
cut?
the daughter. You did bring up a good point. I do think they will do that exact arc in The Conjuring 3, where the daughter kind of becomes like another investigator, like her parents. That does make sense that they planted the seed here that they're going to pay off in Conjuring 3. But I wanted it paid off in this movie because it would have made the movie so much better.
Yeah.
I guess my only other thing is, no, the actors were fine, but I don't think any of the characters were particularly great or memorable except Daniela. She was the only one that had an arc or kind of a motivation to like do anything. But I guess everyone else was just kind of dealing with the shit that she unleashed, so they obviously didn't have a
Yeah.
motivation. But like I did kind of, I was somewhat sympathetic for her, and like the scene at the end when Elaine Warren was telling her she talked to her dad and he says not to blame yourself and stuff like that. That was nice. That actually was like a nice emotional moment. I did like that. But I don't want her back. She's done. She's completed her arc. She needs to go die.
Yeah, I like it when she said, all the evil in here reminds me of all the good out there.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I like that. Made me smile.
But then at the
And on
end,
a
it's
high
like,
note.
all of these people that aren't really her friends came to her birthday party, so it's all good in the end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they just randomly came. Like they don't know about like
Well,
what
you know-
happened. They're just like, yeah, we're just gonna end it on a high note.
Was considering the one troublemaker boy was Daniela's brother, she might have had some influence getting
Sure.
the
Yeah.
other kids.
She picked up the landline and called her and was like, "Oi,
Yeah. So.
you better get over here. If you get over here, then I'll buy you some spicy wings later." And it's like, hell yeah, on my way now. Thinking of B-dubs.
So had you seen this before, Tasha, or you just picked this to watch it?
That's a touchy subject with Mike because I watched it without him the couple nights, like a month ago.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, with The Conjuring and Annabelle, we have watched every one of those movies together, and she just randomly watched it without me.
I got
and
tired
was
of
just
waiting.
like- but she never proposed. Like, I would be like, "Oh, do you want to watch it today?" And she'd be like, "Nah." And I'd be like, "Oh, you want to watch it today?" And she'd be like, "Nah." And then I was just playing video games with my boys one day, and I came up, and she was like 3/4 of the way through this. I'm like, what is this? She's like, I wanted to watch it tonight. And I'm like, I was raiding the Lich King with the boys. And she's like, I don't care. I wanted to watch it. And I'm like, well, all right. Thanks for considering my feelings. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And then I punched her in the face. And then she called the police. And she's kicking me like, stop making domestic violence jokes.
And then $100,000 bail later, here we are.
Yeah, gotta get that YouTube ads up.
Yeah, we gotta pay that off.
Yeah, our 15 subs are also subscribed on Patreon.
Please support us on
Not that we would
Patreon
ever
for all
have
the
a
bonus
Patreon.
content. We will show you Mike's mugshot for if you give it the $10 level.
Yeah. Everybody in the comments, Mike's voice is annoying and he should delete Tasha from his life.
Mike has been canceled.
Yeah, just like Josh, you know. I'm looking forward to the next Halloween special where we bring Josh back.
I feel he'll come back for one between now and Halloween. I feel it.
No.
Do y'all have anything else for this one?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't even do reviews. We just started talking about other things.
Yeah.
We're like, I don't want to review this crap.
No, I asked Tasha if she'd watched it, and then we went off on a tangent.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I made domestic violence. That's what got it off. All right, Tosh, you rate first since it's your movie.
So, it's not one of my favorites in the universe, but I like this one quite a bit because I liked seeing the different things besides like Annabelle and whatnot. I wish they didn't focus so much on Daniela. So I would probably give this one a 7.
Okay. Wow, that's higher than I expected. So for me, I'm probably going to give it a 5. I was going to give it a lower score, but honestly, this movie feels like it has a little bit of heart in it. Like whoever the director guy, I had his name memorized, but I'm really bad with names. But the director and the cast and everybody just seemed to care a little bit. And that brought it up for me, but also I saw nuggets of things I enjoyed, like the scene that had the light spinning and Annabelle was moving, and the covers thing I enjoyed, and the secret passageway. So I would give it a lower score for the cheese factor and for the boring parts, but I'll have to just give it an average score of a 5. I think that's a very fair and honestly a little generous rating. I would probably go down to a 4 in like a few months, but right now I'm feeling a 5.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike and I are on the same wavelength this week. I'm also gonna give it a 5. It's the definition of an average movie. It's not bad by any means. It's not the best Conjuring movie, but it does certain things well, and it, like Mike said, it has nuggets of like good ideas, good scares, good like characters, and it wasn't super memorable. Like maybe I might watch it again at some point, but it's not like, oh, I gotta watch that again and like see what I missed and try to like it's just it's an average movie. Done. Stop talking.
Okay. Do y'all want to go ahead and do Happy Death Day so we can say scary for the...
That's exactly what I was thinking. That way we can save scary for the end. And also, I tend to get really passionate about whichever movies I recommend, especially ones that I like Happy Death Day. So I feel like if I do this one, then it'll make me cut it short so that we can go, and it won't be like every time it's gotten longer, and I want to be the first time where it's gotten... Yeah, right. Okay, so instead of extending it so I don't have to cut this part, I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah, while you're doing your summary, I'm going to go check on Molly.
Okay. She always does that when I do my summaries because I always take the longest. So, Happy Death Day. I'm going to give a quick thought on it, but I love this movie. And the summary of the plot is it's almost like a Groundhog Day, and it's very aware that it's stealing from Groundhog Day, and that the gimmick of the story is that the day keeps looping. So this girl, she's kind of, a butthole. I don't know why I don't curse when I say that, because I've cursed throughout. So she's an asshole, and so she's going through her life, and she gets in this loop where she keeps dying and dying and dying, and she's trying to figure out who her killer is. Now, for some reason, she never is able to just grab the mask and pull it off as she dies or anything. But anyways, I don't want to go into the review. But so she goes through the movie and she's trying to figure out who it is. And there's this really interesting sequence of events that continuously happens. But sometimes the days go differently and they break it up. So in my opinion, it doesn't feel as repetitive. And then as it goes through, you learn that it's her roommate who's doing it. But they were she was trying to frame her a serial killer or a crazy guy that was local because he was a nurse. And the reason she was doing it is because our protagonist, Tree, she was banging Gregory, which is her professor, and her roommate wanted him. And so for some reason, because she was so mean to her and because she was banging the guy she liked, she just decided she's going to kill her. So no matter in scenarios where she apologizes to her or, tries to make amends or seems very, very upset about, being the person she is, she still wants to kill her. So her roommate hates her more than I've ever hated anyone ever. And she's really good at hiding it. I've hated some people a lot. But she hates her roommate more than anybody else. Anyways, so it goes through and she develops a relationship with this other guy that she keeps waking up in his dorm room, and as it goes out, it's interesting because it only develops on one side where he's really attracted to her and stuff. So he's good in every reset, but they're developing a relationship with each other in the fact that he can't remember but she can. So she's reciprocating his feelings slowly, and I feel he's probably interested because she's super hot and whatever. But obviously, every time she wakes up, he barely knows her, and he's just interested because of that. But that's okay. Maybe they had some good dialogue the night before that I don't know about. But it seems like it's funny because they've known each other in each scenario for 15 minutes or an hour or 2 hours, same day, and they're acting like they're an old relationship by the end of it. But anyways, so yeah, that's the summary. She keeps dying. It keeps resetting. She gets frustrated. There's a bit of a bait and switch where the guy, it says that it's going to be the serial killer guy, and she thinks that she's figured it out, but it wasn't. She dies anyways. So, it ended up being the roommate instead, which was obvious that it wasn't going to be the killer guy. But anyways, so how do you feel about this movie, Jake, on your presumably second or third viewing of it?
I like it. We went to see this in the theater. I was intrigued by the premise. I'm not too big on most of the Blumhouse movies, but for some reason this the idea of the horror Groundhog Day, it's interesting because just kind of reliving the same day over and over and trying to, it's the mystery of trying to figure out who your killer is. I loved that angle, and I thought the movie was very successful, kind of the exact opposite of Brightburn, where it's the plot is very kind of derivative and it's not anything, you can't take it seriously, and the movie acknowledges that and kind of makes fun of itself and winks at the audience. So that makes this a great movie to me, is because any kind of flaws that the movie might have, it's you can't bring those up because we know that they exist and we're acknowledging them. So it's I liked that. I do. And
they play the song in the background as she keeps dying, and they make it a fun thing, even though it's death,
Yeah, and I think, I really enjoy this movie. It's not one of my all-time favorites, but it's up there for me. It's the best Blumhouse movie, for sure.
Isn't Sinister a Blumhouse movie?
It is.
Oh, then never mind. Sinister's better. Sorry.
I mean, I might like it better than Sinister, but I knew you would like Sinister better. So I don't know if Jake knows. Bagoo! Yeah, that's a reference to previous Horror Nights. How do you feel about Happy Death Day overall, Tasha, before we go into the details?
Overall, I mean, it's an alright movie. I'm not crazy about it. After a while, honestly, the song kind of gets on my nerves because I just get annoyed listening to it over and over, after every scene. That's how it starts
I like the song.
Well, I mean, I I don't really like the repetition of it. Like, you just keep seeing flashbacks, and. But overall, I like what it was trying to do. So.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like this is the perfect movie if somebody is traditionally not a horror fan, but they're not necessarily super against horror. They just haven't tried it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a great movie to ease somebody into it because it's got just a little bit of slasher in there, but it's mostly playing to a very mainstream mentality of like just, nobody likes stuck-up preppy girls. Nobody does. So you watch it and you're like, okay, he's making fun of all these people. I'm in. I'm invested in this. And I feel like that this movie is really good at appealing to pretty much everybody. Like people who are big fans of horror, people who are not. And I think this is a great one to just show to your friends who don't like horror.
I kind of feel bad for Becky because
Oh, dude, I love the repetitive jokes on Becky. That's in my notes. I have so many Becky notes.
I was like, what is that on your tray? It's chocolate milk. I didn't have breakfast.
I skipped breakfast.
Oh yeah. One thing I put in my notes that's technically a nitpick, but it's actually a plot hole. Like when that montage when she's like crossing off everybody's name, of like, oh, it's not, it's this person's not the killer. When she thinks it's Danielle and she tackles her into the street and then she gets hit by a bus, why does she cross Danielle's name off? Like,
I think that every time I watch this movie, I've seen this movie like 15 times, and like I still don't.
It's
get
like
it.
you got hit by a bus. That kind of breaks the timeline. That's not Danielle could still be the killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's because she's like, maybe after she wrestled Danielle, like the body language and the muscle difference was like indicative of that. Maybe
there's a deleted scene we didn't see where she went back and double checked again. But
yeah, I would love to watch BTS on this movie. Actually, I know that's a joke, but like I would love to watch BTS on this. And some deleted scenes and stuff. I'm a pretty big fan. Okay, here's one thing that I think the movie cheats. And you know what? If this isn't the case, I will apologize in a future episode if I research this and I'm wrong. But I think every time they film the chick that is the killer, which is the roommate, that they have someone else as the killer, an extra or some guy, because this person has much broader shoulders than her roommate. And if you look at the shot of like the killer killing her in the guy's like pleasure room or whatever with the disco, and he's dancing or whatever. Yeah, the pleasure dome. Yeah, when she's in the pleasure dome and she dies there, if you see the shot of behind of the killer going on top of her and the shoulders and the muscles, and then you see like, the girl the next day, and you know who it is, you're like, okay, that is not fair, movie, okay? At least have the same person inside of the hoodie and the costume that it ends up being, because you're just throwing me off by having this big guy body, because I didn't figure this out. I did not figure this movie out. I did not know until she went, oh, with the cupcake. Like, it was the reveal moment before I found out. I'm going to be honest. I usually find movies out. Like, I'm usually pretty good at unraveling the mystery, but not this time.
But if
you didn't, but I did. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I feel like if they had cast a girl to play the killer the entire time, it would have been very obvious. And, like, the twist would not have worked. So I get why they did it, but, yeah, it is very... When you watch it a second time, you're like, that's obviously a man. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You can't give me false information when the whole movie is a mystery movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's like at the end of the movie if they say, oh, it's time travel or something. Like if it's a whodunit mystery, it's like, oh, it's time travel. And I'm just like, no, come on, give me a legit chance of figuring it out.
I don't... Even watching it this time, one other thing I noticed, it doesn't really work well as a mystery. There's nothing to lead you... Like, the roommate's just kind of... She's in one scene in the beginning, and then she's not really ever mentioned again. But, like...
Well, that's not true. She's throughout the movie.
Well, obviously she is, because the day repeats, but it's like, you don't get any new information on the roommate, really. But one thing I noticed this time, or like a nitpick, I guess, or a plot hole, is when... The time when Tree is killed in her bedroom, Like, Tree is literally, and if you know it's the roommate, Tree is literally has the cupcake to her mouth, is about to take a bite, and then the roommate just makes noise in the bathroom and has to stab her. Like, she was going to eat the cupcake that you were going to kill her with to begin with. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, but could the roommate see her at the time?
I don't know.
That's the big question. That's the big
But
question.
just, it's like stuff like that. It's like, it's basically, if you're watching it again, trying to see the clues to point that it's the roommate, like that completely invalidates that whole idea. It's like the killer's doing something that the roommate would not do in that scenario.
Yeah.
To me.
That's true.
Yeah. And I think anytime this movie like has the chance of being logical, it just goes for the more entertaining route.
Yeah.
But I totally get what you're saying. Like, for example, one of my nitpicks on my list falls in line with that, but it's like delayed going outside or going outside faster and the events happen exactly the same. So like sometimes she'll talk longer, or sometimes she'll like rush outside immediately and not even get dressed, and just run out and not take the Tylenol. But yet everything happens at the same rate as she gets out. It's like, oh, the thing and the guy with the glasses and the blah blah blah. But like you just changed everything. You just changed the whole thing.
Yeah, but that would be a ridiculous thing to like delay everything by like 8 seconds or like that's impossible for them to do that, and it wouldn't read the same. People would be like, why is it?
Yeah, it would be unclear to the audience. I know, and that's the thing. I don't fault the movie for doing it. Just like I don't fault it for the roommate thing. Whenever the movie is like it's choosing between logic and entertainment, it chooses entertainment every time.
Yeah.
I think that's okay. We're the nitpick squad, and here we are defending the plot holes.
I wish Trey would just die because she was just so rude. It's like before we knew that the cupcake was poisonous, she was just like, I don't eat carbs. Just throw it away. It's like, I wish you would just die.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, she was such a bitch in like the first 2 times, but then she just made a complete 180, and it was just...
Yeah, well, I mean, after you die enough times, you just become Socrates.
Like the guy she was complaining that guy took her to Subway on their one date.
On their first date.
Their first and only date that they had. I was like, that's mean. Maybe that's all you can afford is Subway.
Yeah, that's better than Taco Bell. What do you want?
I love Subway.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
If I would have taken you to Subway on our first date, would we still be together?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because if that's all you can afford, I ain't gonna be.
Well.
Yeah. Well, I was 15, so it's probably true.
The last.
I think we went to see the event. Or no, we went to see Iron Man on our first date, the original one.
The last first date I had with a girl, I took her to see Jackass 3D. So, that obviously didn't work out.
I remember that.
That was a good movie. Well, that's my recommendation for next month.
This is the first time I think during the podcast where I learned a new thing about Jake on the podcast. I took a girl to see Jackass 3D.
Well, there you go.
Did you watch Jackass 3D with Mikey?
No, he's not interested in that.
He's sitting there. I can see you guys sitting in the living room with the 3D glasses on.
Mike just goes like, how stupid, every time.
What else you got in your notes?
Oh, he probably heard
you
that.
Want me to go through my notes?
Probably.
I like how we're relying on my notes. Like, why?
Because
why are you
I
relying on
already
my
said
notes,
all
Tosh?
my notes.
Oh.
Because you said you wrote a lot.
One
Go
cool
ahead, sir.
cool shot. Like, I liked a lot of the montages, but when Tree is murdered by like getting hit in the face by the baseball bat, and then it just kind of she falls and it just kind of fades into the pillow. That was really cool. I liked that a lot.
And when she exploded in the car, and then it like shows it in her eye holes.
Yeah.
that was nice. Yeah, and like one of my notes was like just about her roommate. I said her roommate still kills her after the breakdown and confession about how scared she is. He's like, you know what, you got this, Queen. Just stay at home. You just chill here. And she's like, die. He's like, nobody's gonna kill you today, I promise. She's like, die.
I thought it was pretty hilarious that she couldn't figure out that the safety was on. She just kept trying to fire the gun.
She planned everything out, and then she left the safety on,
Yeah.
and she couldn't figure out how to shoot the gun. That's fair, though. Like, not everybody knows about safety.
I would just get a knife and try to.
Love the Becky jokes. I love the death montages. Like, it's so critical to the mood of the movie when it plays the music, and it's like, you know, it just keeps she keeps dying. She has like the camo on her face.
Yeah.
And then she just gets tackled in the water. It's just like they play it for comedy after a while. And I like that. I like that they didn't take it too seriously.
Yeah, they tried to add stakes to the movie at the end when she's like, every time I come back I'm getting weaker, so I don't have many deaths left, and it's like, all right, that's just fake. Like, that makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you're just adding sex. And then she gets the X-ray, and he's like, "This is gonna sound weird, but you should be dead." I'm like, yeah, a doctor would say that. That is totally the line that a doctor would say. I know it's for the audience, though. Like we said earlier, anytime that they need to convey information to make it more interesting, that's just what they choose to do. It's the logical thing. I like the Dutch angle of the hospital running shot when she's running from the killer, you know, in the hospital. I thought it was cool, like when it rotates as it's running.
Yeah.
I can appreciate how difficult that would be to get clear like that. You know, I couldn't do that on a DSLR because it's got too much rolling shutter, but you know what I mean. It would be impossible. It would. So whoever got that shot, good job.
Thanks
That's
for
probably
listening.
one of the harder. Yeah. Thanks for listening to this podcast.
Number 16
you're
coming
the
in.
only one. You subbed. The guy just subscribed. Let's see. Burning sucks, just saying. Why is it always some weird looking dude as the serial killer in movies? Like, why do they have to have this stereotype against, like, weird looking or, like, I don't know, I guess they're trying to say ugly because he's the only person in the cast that isn't, like, beautiful. You know, you have all the girls and the guys in the movie are all good-looking people.
Yeah.
And then you have this serial killer. It's like, you're bad because you're ugly. Or whatever, you know what I mean?
well, like, he has to be
I don't
like
know
a
if the guy
creepy
is, but-
rapist, basically.
Yeah, like, what? Like, why can't it just be a normal guy? Like, why does it have to... I don't know. That's just something that pisses me off about movies, is that, like, all the protagonists are always, like, these beautiful people, and then it'll have, like, the antagonist, and they'll be super ugly.
But-
and it's like, are you trying to say that ugly people are bad?
Well, it's a stereotype that is very established, so I feel like if they had the serial killer be, like a super attractive guy, that would open more questions that they don't have time to answer. Like, people would just be
Yeah.
like, why is, like, the serial killer super attractive?
I mean, it doesn't have to be... It could just be a normal-looking person. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to... I mean, I feel like they put prosthetics all over this guy's face. If not, then I'm sorry, guy that's listening to this podcast.
Down to 15 again. 14.
It's the same guy that got the Dutch angle. He's unsubbed. Let's see. The scene with her dad shows how hard this movie tries compared to other gimmick horror movies. So, like, a lot of times you'll see ads for a horror movie that's around a gimmick, like Truth or Dare or something.
Yeah.
And sorry for the bang, guys, but Truth or Dare or, you know, Bye Bye Man, or just things like that, where the movie just has no heart. It's just like, it's just going through and it's just doing this formula. And this movie tries. This movie tries to make you feel things. It tries to be as high quality as it can. And you can even tell, like, this director might even, you know, be making it thinking, like, it's his magnum opus. You know, this is my work. This is my art, or whatever. And you just feel it, especially in that scene with her dad. Like, you don't have to have that stuff in a horror movie to sell tickets, and yet it's there. It's there, and that's what I love about it. You know?
Yeah, and this movie has the best motive for a killer of all time. When they find out that it's because the roommate's in love with the boyfriend, Tree is like, really? You're doing this over a guy? And then the roommate goes, not just that, you're a dumb bitch too. That made me die laughing.
Yeah, I think that's another moment where this movie just knows how dumb it is. Like, I think that was supposed to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely, like, not supposed to be serious, or I don't think it was.
No,
Maybe
it was acknowledging how like thin and like cliche that motive was. So it was just like, all right, we're just gonna make a joke out of how there can't be a good motive for this.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I have a couple questions for you guys for my last
Okay.
two notes. Is it moral to kill someone before they commit a crime, even if you know they will commit said crime? Even if you believe in determinism and you say, people do not have free will, and I'm a time traveler, and I'm going to kill Hitler as a baby, or I'm going to do this and that. Is it moral to kill somebody before they commit an atrocity when you, if you can know that they're going to do it?
Yeah.
Even though they haven't done it yet.
I mean,
but that version of that person has not done it. They have not done anything wrong.
If they know that it's, I mean, if they're absolutely certain, then yes.
Are you talking about when Tree kills the roommate at the end? Is that what you're?
Yeah, well, in that scenario, it doesn't apply, but it made me think of this philosophical question. Because in the end, she's like, if it would be applicable if she did the cupcake thing with the police, and she didn't try to attack her. But once she tried to attack her, it's fine. I'm just talking, like, it made me think of that. It made me think of that concept. Like, what if Tree just came up to her and instead of talking to her, just stabbed her? Like, maybe she lost that time, and then when she came one more time later, she just came up to her and she just killed her or whatever. Then, like, would that be justified, or is that moral? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I like philosophy.
Yes, because while the roommate, in the recurring day, the roommate hasn't technically killed Tree yet, but she has baked the cupcake that's poison. That she's attempted to kill Tree. She's put out her intent to kill Tree into the universe. She's planted her trap.
Okay.
So yes, in that case,
What if-
it's still justified.
I agree.
Tosh, do you agree?
I
Okay, what if she went back in time to her first time meeting the roommate, and then she killed her roommate then? Would that still be justified? Even though she's going to kill her later or attempt to? Would that still be justified?
No,
for her
because
to
in
go
that
back
scenario,
in time?
Tree could, if the motive is true, Tree could just not be a dumb bitch, and like that would solve it.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
have nothing to do with the boyfriend. Yeah.
I just want to know where you guys stand on that.
Like in this scenario, like since Tree is directly the result of the girl's like murderous rage, if Tree went back far enough, she could do things differently and stop that from happening. She wouldn't have to kill the roommate. So yeah, but like going back in time
So
to
it's
kill.
not okay to kill baby Hitler then?
No, because if I
Agreed.
went back and killed baby
I
Hitler,
agree.
I have no effect on Hitler's rage, so I could do it. I have
Oh,
like,
I disagree.
me going-
I don't think it's moral to kill baby Hitler.
me going back and
'Cause
going
baby
to baby
Hitler-
Hitler and saying like, "Hey guy, don't do that. That's not gonna have any effect on him. So might as well just kill him."
But how do you know? How do you know if you didn't like abduct him and raise him differently that he'd just be a normal guy?
Because I want to end this conversation.
Yeah. You're getting away. We're going too far.
This is
Okay.
a weird tangent.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious, guys. That's all.
But yes,
Well, we answered your question.
you
All right,
should always kill Hitler, no matter what. End of discussion.
Disagree, but I think people need to commit a wrong before. But anyways, and then I kind of stole this concept from a Wisecrack video I saw a long time ago. But I love how this movie erases all meaning by playing it up and then reverting her perfect day back. So this movie is basically trying to say that it's meaningless and is reinforcing that. I love that. It's like she has this perfect, satisfying day with this perfect ending, and then she eats the cupcake, and she ends up going back, and then she has this like day where she gets through it, but it's imperfect, and it just leaves you feeling less satisfied than you would if it would have just ended right there. It even almost feels like the movie is about to cut the credits right there, where she blows out the cupcake.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. I love that concept. And yeah, I love the outro credits. That was my last note.
I was gonna say, you got any more?
I had lots of notes for
Let's
this
say
movie.
this one should have been. This one was.
Well, no,
pretty
my like kind of related to your Hitler thing. Like when the biggest plot hole in the movie that I can't really forgive, like it's not even a nitpick, it's a major issue that I have, is at the end when Tree like finds out everything and she kills the roommate. She shoves the cupcake in the roommate's mouth and then pushes her out the window. There is absolutely nothing pointing to the roommate as the killer. Like, Tree looks like a murderer. There is no way she can explain her way out of that. Like, it's just like, oh, she tried to kill me, so I had to poison her and push her out a window, you know?
Yeah, and she's just fine later on. She's like, the same day, she's just eating in a diner with her
Yeah,
boyfriend.
like,
oh.
I get that the movie's over, and it's like, it's kind of overkill to explain that, but it's just like, I don't know what they could have done differently, but it's just like, you basically, I don't know. That just rubbed me the wrong way and kind of pissed me off, that how they did that, because it's like, it's so illogical.
Yeah, I felt the same way at the end of Mama. You know, when like they all evaporated, and I'm just thinking, like, how are they going to explain this to the police?
I never saw that one. But thanks for spoiling the ending. So everybody evaporates,
Yeah.
I'll remember that.
It's not that good of a movie.
We're probably never going to be watching Mama.
Well, that was my recommendation
will.
this month. Not anymore.
Oh, okay. Alright, well, it's time to go into ratings. I guess I'll go first again, since this is my second recommendation since Josh died.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Hello, darkness. Okay, I can't sing it anymore. Copyright strike. Alright, so I'm debating on the rating. I want to give it a 10, but I'm not going to. I'm going to give it a 9. Because I know. You can hear the noise in the background. It's so spicy. Okay, so for what this movie is trying to do and what it's trying to be, I think it's incredible. I love this movie. I can watch it 100 times and probably still enjoy it. I think that the protagonist, the actress, is an amazing actress. She brings more to this movie than it deserves, even though it's a great movie. You know, she does an excellent job with it. And I'm not just saying that because she's super hot. I think that she did a great job with the acting. And then I just love the plot, the sequence of events. Really, even though I have some nitpicks, there's very little that I would change. It's not a perfect movie. That's why I won't give it a 10, because there are a few things that, you know, I would change if I could. But I think that it's incredible. I would love to see this plot, but in like a VR game that I could watch, like developed by the guys who made Invisible Hours or something. Like, you know, I know they did a Groundhog Day one, but I would love to see a Happy Death Day VR experience. I'd be so into that. But yeah, 9 out of 10 from me, boys and girl.
Okay.
There's 2 boys
So-
and 1 girl.
Yeah, I'm talking to myself too.
Okay.
There's two guys in my head. There's me and then the other guy that's drinking beer right now.
So, I don't know. This movie sometimes just get on my nerves. Like I said, the song gets on my nerves after a while, and I just get tired of seeing her play by play, trying to make her day perfect to figure out the killer. I mean, it has some good aspects to it, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
Oof, disgusting. I hate you.
I don't really care.
You know, those divorce papers are almost processed,
That's
guys.
alright.
Well, Tasha, you should sign them first.
Yep.
I already signed them. I'm just waiting on her. She just cries every time I try to get her to sign.
Okay. That's enough beer for you.
He's only halfway done with the 40.
Yeah.
I know, well,
I still got a 20 left.
Well, you're cut off for the night. Anyways, what you
I got a little
got,
under
Jake?
half. I probably got like an 18 left.
I will give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's an above average movie. It's a good movie. There's some plot holes, but you know, it's like I said, I can forgive that stuff because the movie is fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It knows what it is. it, like Mike said, it chooses entertainment over logic, which is fine because it's a fun movie. I enjoy it every time I watch it. It's not my favorite, but there have been a couple occasions where I've just been like, I want to watch Happy Death Day, and I've put it on. So it's like I do enjoy the movie for what it is, and it's fun. So 7 out of 10.
All right, so I guess next we're going into scary stories to tell in the dark. So,
And
Jake.
that's Jake's
Yeah,
recommendation.
this was mine. I saw this in the theaters over the summer, and I was intrigued because I had read the books when I was a kid, but I didn't know what to expect, and I was very pleasantly surprised. So, summary. There's basically, it opens on this girl, Stella, and her group of friends, Augie and Chuck, I think. It's Halloween night, and they're becoming teenagers, so it's the last Halloween. They're gonna do trick or treat and do all that, and it's just they go out and have like kind of some Halloween fun, and they finally play a prank on the bully that's been messing with them forever, and they like put shit in a candy bag, and then they reach in and grab it, and then they egg his car, and he basically chases them to a drive-in theater where they meet this guy Ramon, who's just like a drifter basically, and they become friends with him, and they take him to this house for like Halloween. It's like an urban legend that this girl Sarah Bellows would tell these stories to kids through the wall in her house and basically kill them or whatever. And then it turns out that all that stuff's true. Stella steals Sarah Bellows' book, takes it home, and then basically the kids are kind of picked off one by one as Sarah Bellows is kind of writing these stories from beyond the grave. And it's
Spicy.
yeah, it's a very spicy movie. And basically it's just the kids kind of get picked off one by one as they move through a couple stories from the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark book, and it kind of ends where Stella goes back to the house and is in Sarah Bellows' like dungeon, and basically says, "I know that you were wronged and you were killed unjustly by your family, and I want to tell your story." And then Sarah's like, "Okay, that's cool," and then lets her live, and that's about it.
Yeah. So I thought, as far as movies, and I don't know if my rating will reflect this or not, so don't go back and like triple check me or something. But as far as movies that I haven't seen before, that I've watched for this podcast, this is probably my favorite one. This is probably my favorite one that I've seen that I hadn't already seen, that I didn't recommend, or Tasha recommended, or you recommended, that I'd already seen.
Right.
So, yeah. I know you said that about Candyman, but that's what I'm saying about this movie. That's how much I liked it, so thank you, Jake.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. I thought it was like fun because like on some of the stories that they were telling, like I recognized some of them, like the Big Toe and the Wendigo. I remembered reading those as a kid.
Big Toe.
Yeah, I think what I loved about this movie, other than just like the overall look and the feel of it, it was if this had been on DVD during our Halloween episode, this would have been my pick, hands down. But I think it was still in the theaters, so I recommended Pumpkinhead, and we all know how that turned out. But like I feel like just the first act, everything that takes place on Halloween, it felt very trick or treat, and it's just that it really embodied the spirit of Halloween to me, and I thought it was very effective at kind of introducing you to the characters and kind of setting the mood, and it just I love everything about this movie, but I thought that especially was very good, and I liked the approach the movie took, where it wasn't just a straight anthology of like, we're going to tell 10 short stories of these scary stories that you all know. I liked how they created an original story that interwove a bunch of stuff together.
Yeah, and I thought, I was disappointed that it wasn't an anthology, because I was like, oh, Tasha, I haven't seen a good anthology since Trick or Treat or something like that. There's very few good horror anthologies out there, in my opinion. But as it was going and they weaved them all together, I was like, wow, that sounds like it would be hard to do in a concept, and they totally pulled it off. They totally made it work. It's almost what I wanted from like It or It Chapter 2, but better. Like I don't know if I would say this movie is better than the first It, of the new It series, but it probably is. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't plan on saying this, but that's something I need to check on because I want to know if I like this better than that. But it's a kid's story. That's why I was trying to compare the two.
Yeah.
I did like the look of the scarecrow. I thought he was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's got all these like random scares. The scarecrow is like my favorite because you guys know me by now. I like the scarecrow stuff.
Yeah, all of the monsters were fantastic, and I think it's because that I watched a couple special features because I bought the Blu-ray like box set thing, and basically they were.
I need to buy it instead of just renting it on digital. I need to buy it. It's good.
They were saying that it was all practical effects. Like all of those monsters were actually like people. Like the jangly man from the jail, that was an actual contortionist, so that was a real person that was bending their body that way.
Oh, wow.
But they added like CGI touches to like the face and stuff.
Right.
But it's like they always said it's 90% practical, 10% CGI. And I think that's why it connects so well to me, is that it's because CGI in horror just does not work. It's never worked and it's never going to.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think that...
Same thing as in Insidious.
Yeah.
Like, when it shows the red guy, then you're like, Darth Maul. It completely diffuses it. The best scene in that movie is when it pans and he's in the corner and you don't see him. He's just a shadow in the corner.
Or
that's the most effective scene.
In It Chapter 2, that pretty much everything in Pennywise is all CGI in that movie. Like, nothing is scary in that movie for several reasons, but that didn't help anything. Is just that everything was CG. So, like, and I love the Scarecrow. The pale lady from the Red Room, I think she was the scariest for me personally in the movie. I thought just... apparently I have a thing with like people in the far distance and like a long hallway slowly coming towards you. That's like one of my fears apparently.
Yeah.
But I thought that that whole segment, where Chuck was taken in the hospital, that was my favorite of like the little vignette story things, for sure.
Like, I was actually feeling nauseated when I was watching him eat the soup with the toe in it. It was like, ugh.
I was like, I just don't like. That's one thing that legit does gross me out. Is anything food related, like gross food things. That'll get you.
Well, you'll be scared of Jackass 3 next month then.
No, you are not recommending Jackass on the horror podcast.
It's body horror.
Just like you guys vetoed Happy Death Day 2 in my joke last week.
Oh, that's standing.
I was about to say.
Happy Death Day 2 is a negative for me.
Yeah, that's not coming.
Please, no.
Guys, we will. The only way that we'll review Happy Death Day 2 is if we ever get 100,000 subscribers. Then we'll.
No, I think we should do 100. Like, let's do something realistic.
Yeah, because we're never gonna get 100,000. We could get 100 just passively. Just people who accidentally click it before the back arrow.
Well, watch this like blows up, and then like in 6 months we have to do Happy. Well, I wouldn't mind actually if we have like 100 subscribers. That would be pretty cute.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
I never even finished Happy Death Day 2. I turned it off.
Anyway, back to the good movie.
Yeah. So Doberman shot was legit creepy.
Yes, that was a good one.
The guy that that they kept saying the racist slur to, I forget his name, but you know who I'm
Ramon,
talking about.
the main character, or like the guy with the car.
I don't remember any of the characters' names. Yeah, the guy with the car. That's what I should have said. I obviously don't want to say that name because I don't want to say something like that. But that guy, you know what's funny is like when the girl gets in the car, he's like, yeah. But when the other two get in the car, he's like, get the fuck out of my car. I'm just like, what? Like he doesn't know any of them, I don't think. at that point. But I just thought that was really funny
Yeah.
that he was mean to the people in the back seat. But when she got in, he was like, "Hey."
This is
Like, she had to
fine.
explain herself, but he was way less of a dick to her than the other two. I'm just like, whatever, guy.
I felt like the ending was a little too simple. It's like Sarah Bellows is just like, whatever, if you're going to tell my story, that's fine, I'll let you go. It's like, it just seemed too short and simple to me on that.
Yeah, I did like the where Stella was basically put into Sarah's shoes and was kind of like running through the old
Yeah.
house like that. That was cool, but yeah, it like the resolution, I guess, like you were saying, was a little thin of just like.
Yeah,
But I guess like that was kind of the mantra of the movie. It was like stories hurt, stories heal if you repeat them enough. So it was like it kind of ties in with the thing that they've been repeating throughout the whole movie. If just like if you tell a story, it'll help or whatever. So I get why they did it, but yeah.
I mean, they could have maybe had a few more minutes. I don't know. It just seemed really short.
Yeah, because I thought the Sarah Bellows character looked pretty cool, and she didn't get very much screen time. It was like 2 minutes.
She didn't. I mean, her book got more screen time. And,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. I don't know though. I thought the book like auto writing thing was like way cool.
Well, no, I liked it, but I just wish they showed more of her because.
I don't know, because we just said the more you show, the less scary it is, though. So I kind of like the amount that they show.
But I think.
I don't know. I disagree with you guys.
But I think
that's okay.
what Tosh and I are on is that like we like the look of Sarah, but it's just the way that it was just like, I'm gonna tell your story, and Sarah's like, okay, that's fine, you can go. That felt a little thin. Like we wanted more stakes from Sarah. Is right, Tasha?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay. I understand that.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. She was a little thin on that. Yeah, it really surprised me. So you know how when you see a group of kids or whatever in a horror movie and you think some of them are toast, you know, you try to guess what order they're gonna kill them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the skeptic kid was gonna last longer than the annoying kid, like the kid that was like making all the jokes. They always kill that character first.
Yeah.
So the fact that didn't happen, I was like, huh. That's surprising, but he kind of like, it's not the actor's fault, it's just like he was playing a character that annoys me. So like, I just wanted him gone earlier. I was like, I hate that guy. I like the skeptic guy, but I feel like, yeah, having him around for the psychology department scene probably would have been annoying compared to the, I don't know actually. I'm reverting. It was probably a good decision, but it did surprise me. It surprised me.
Yeah, because the Augie, the dry guy that was killed by the big toe monster, he was less interesting than the annoying kid. Even though...
Disagree, but that's okay.
Well, no, like, he was less annoying, but he didn't have any, like, super unique or interesting character traits. He was just, like, a kid.
I mean, yeah. He didn't have much to offer at all.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
I really felt bad for Chuck's sister who got the spiders all over her face. That was kind of terrifying.
The bully kid in this movie, speaking of the spiders, it reminded me of that because when he pushed her in and all that, reminded me of the spiders. He was a lot more realistic than the bully in It is. Where, like, okay, like, he never stabbed anyone. Like, he was just mean. He was going to lock them in there, but I felt like he wouldn't just, like, let them die.
Yeah.
If they, like, turned up missing and they were missing for, like, a day or two, he would come and, like, let them out or whatever, I feel like.
Yeah, and I thought, like, he like, the drunk acting that kid did, I thought was very believable. Like, I don't know why, but I was like, that...
I've been drunk a lot. I'm just like, there it is.
That is,
that
like,
guy.
effective drunk acting.
Yeah. That's in my notes, too. It's crazy that you said that. Yeah,
And
I totally agree. Dude, when you were giving the summary, though, did they know it was him when they did the shit bag? Because they acted surprised.
Oh, they
I
knew.
thought they were going to do whoever the sister was dating, and they didn't know it was
No,
him.
it was...
No?
It was the bully because,
I'm wrong on
like,
that.
he was like, Chuck, the annoying kid, was like, there's this car, and then he holds out the bag, like, as far away from his body as he can, basically like, hey, please take this. Like they knew exactly what they were doing.
They knew it was completely planned.
Well, no, I know that they were planning
They
it.
were-
For some reason, I got the impression that they were like, "Oh crap, it's Chuck," because I thought that they were going to do it to whatever guy that the sister was dating at the time.
No, they were surprised that she was dating him though.
Yeah.
See?
Well,
so if they were surprised he was dating him, then how did they know who
They did know. They had it planned.
they knew it was the bully's
so
car.
I had it reversed. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it.
Because they were saying like, he steals our candy every year. He always messes with us. So this year we're gonna get back at him. Like, so they knew it was the bully's car. They were surprised the sister was in there though.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, okay, I get it now. Thanks, guys, for explaining it to me. I'm an idiot.
It's okay.
Pushing her in was mean.
Yeah, the back to the Harold the Scarecrow bit. The only part in the movie that kind of made me cringe was when the bully kid gets stabbed and then he's like got the hay coming out of everywhere when it's like coming out of his ears and he's like vomiting it up. I was like, oh god, that's awful.
Yeah, I did feel for him right there.
Yeah, I was like, thus far in the movie, he hasn't done anything that's made me think that he deserves that.
Yeah.
Unless he actually was the person who graffitied the racist comments on the guy's car, but I assumed that was the ghost. But if that was
because
him,
I think
guess
it
it's
happened.
fine.
No, I think it was the bully. Because
It was the bully. It was Harold.
Okay. That is a lot to
he-
do to deface someone's car with things like that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Ramon
god.
didn't want to snitch on him
Yeah.
because it could have turned out to be worse.
Well, yeah, because he
outcome.
turned out dead afterwards. So Ramon's like,
But it was Harold.
well,
that
yeah,
did it.
Oh, okay. I think it just implies,
Well,
but I don't know if he did or
and
not.
Ramon was dodging the Vietnam draft, so he was just trying to keep as low of a profile as possible. He didn't want to like talk to the police or like let them know that he existed anyway.
Yeah.
Really? I did. Oh, man, I missed too much. I need to watch this movie again. Apparently, I was paying attention, but like, I didn't realize he was dodging the draft.
Yeah, that's like a big thing at the end, like when he goes off on the bus to go to war.
Yeah, and she's saying goodbye to him, and he was like, please write to me, and stuff like that.
Huh?
Yeah, that's my one.
I didn't get that.
What my
I
one.
just didn't pay enough attention. I guess I did fall asleep in a small section. Secretly.
That's fair. My one like kind of nitpicker thing that I didn't really understand why they did was they kept like bringing up like the Vietnam War and the movie took place in 1968, which like very specifically on like the week that Nixon was elected, and it's just like they kept like showing like news footage in the background and like talking like the sheriff was like, you owe me $100 when Nixon wins or whatever. It's just like I don't know why that was there, because it didn't, like if they were trying to do an allegory like relating to the story, it didn't connect with me. I just don't know why they were doing that, or why they tried to make
Yeah, I
it
feel like
political.
Yeah, I feel like that shouldn't have been in there.
That's my only like nitpick thing, but just like not a nitpick, just something I don't know that they could have gotten rid of and the movie would have been the same.
I agree, because it didn't really have much to do with the movie at all.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have any disagreements on that. So I love the Scarecrow sound design for the steps
Yeah.
when he was like stepping around. That was really cool. I felt the need to bring that up because any Scarecrow scares the shit out of me when I see it on a screen or when I see it in real life. So yeah, the steps were like, that whole scene, I was just so scared. I was like,
Yeah, they all of the little vignette, like, story bits, they all did very well at building tension and, like, dread in a very short amount of time. I think they were all very effective and played well.
So which monsters did you like and not like, or did you like them all?
I liked them pretty much all. But my favorite was the Scarecrow.
I liked the hug monster that got him when he was in
Yeah.
the psychology thing.
Yeah, he was pretty
That was my
but
favorite.
I didn't like the toe. I didn't like the toe monster.
Well, no.
I didn't think it was very cool, and that whole story was I mean,
Honestly,
the
the-
toe soup thing didn't really gross me out very much.
Honestly, the short story is a little bit better in the book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
that,
haven't
that
read
was
the
the
book,
weakest sec. It was cool though that it ended up pulling him under the bed, so the payoff was good. But the monster itself, like when he was in the room with the door jammed and stuff, I didn't feel any suspense. I felt a lot of suspense in the scarecrow and with the psychology department thing, but I didn't feel any suspense for Toe Monster.
though. Oh, yes, the story's a little bit better in the book on that one.
Yeah. Sorry, Jake. We're just talking to each other and
You're
kind
fine.
of talking over you.
I liked the toe monster. I didn't mind it. I didn't the jangly man. I thought his design. Maybe it's just because I've seen like that type of contortionist monster in other movies. It didn't seem very original to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Like
could
that
see
that was my least favorite, but I still liked it, and I still think it was effective at what it was trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed. You have any notes?
I got all
I've only got a
that.
few left, so I was just wondering.
I did like the audio when they're listening to Sarah being tortured. That kind of that was effective and like really making you feel sympathy for Sarah, and just kind of it was a little
Yeah.
hard to listen to, like when she was being
Yeah, it was very moving.
electroshock therapied or whatever. That I
Yeah.
I liked that, and I learned that wax cylinders were a thing apparently, unless that was made up for the
Yeah.
movie. So that was a fun
Ah,
little
I'm not
factoid.
sure.
Yeah, factoid. No, factoid means it's false.
No, all of the factoids I gave were true, Mike.
I know, but that's what the word factoid means.
Oh, really?
We were just dumb when we were doing that. Yeah, I swear, Google it. I learned that like way after we did Factoid Friday.
I'm gonna look it up, but go ahead and start with your notes.
Okay. I agreed with you about the upside down monster, so I put in my notes that they showed it too much.
Yeah.
So like that they showed that monster too much. So I was gonna say that earlier, but I just didn't get around to it. And then fuck Sarah for tormenting people because she got blamed for a crime.
According to this, it's actually fact.
Factoid? It's not a false
It
fact?
says a brief or trivial item of news or information, an assumption or speculation that's reported and repeated so often that it becomes accepted as fact.
So it's like,
Accepted as fact,
well, it's not. It's
but not necessarily fact.
well, it doesn't say it's a false fact. It just says it's something that's
Okay.
repeated enough to become a fact.
Y'all both get partial credit.
All right. Well, no, I think Jake wins this one, honestly, but I yield. I yield.
Okay.
It just had good
Sorry.
alliteration
And then
with
my-
Friday. That's why I came up with it.
Yeah, I know. I liked it. The ending was meh. I thought the ending was a bit of a like I even like the ending of every other movie that we've done more than this one, but I'm not gonna dock it too much for it. But for me, the ending didn't connect as well as the entire rest of it. But that's just because the bar was set so high by the rest of it. Really.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of what Tosh and I were saying about Sarah
Yeah.
Bellows earlier. It's just that didn't. Or do you mean like something else from the end?
I mean, between that... Oh, sorry if I touched the recorder, guys. Everybody else probably just heard a thump. But, no, I just meant between the Sarah thing, but also the, him going on the bus and saying goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought that the whole thing was like, I don't know. I didn't feel any emotional connection to the ending at all.
Okay.
Compared to the rest of the
Yeah.
movie. Like everything else was so incredibly effective, and the ending for me was probably a 5, like average, but that's just like the last 5 or 10 minutes, so I wouldn't even dock it a point for it. I just wanted to mention it.
Yeah, the ending was like everything after Sarah when they're trying to like do like the falling action or whatever. It was overly sincere. And it's like the movie wasn't a joke movie by any means, but the ending did feel way too sincere and like happy for
Yeah,
this movie.
It wasn't as fun. You know what? Okay, you know what I think would have been better, honestly. And I know they built up to the Vietnam thing, but like, let's pretend. Let's say like some fun music starts playing and it goes to like a pan to the future time and they're just hanging out and they're having fun. Like that would have, in my opinion, been better than like the attempt to an emotional ending.
Yeah.
Like if they would have ended it on, if they were gonna end it on a high note either way. It was kind of a high note, even though they're saying goodbye. You know, it's over. The plot has resolved itself. Some people are dead or whatever, but like it's supposed to feel like a little bit, you know, wrapped up. I just would have. I think I would have preferred like a funner ending personally, but hey, it's okay.
I did like that they kind of sort of semi set up a sequel that where like the dad and Stella and the sister with the spider face are going off to. I don't know why they're driving to go find Augie and Chuck, but they are for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that this movie made enough money to actually get a sequel, though?
No.
Unfortunately not. I think it's because this movie came out in like early August, and it's like it's a Halloween movie. I don't know why it didn't come out like in late September, October.
Yeah.
Or
That's why I didn't see it. I wasn't in the mood at the time. You know, we were going to get a Horror Nights. I was focused on watching the Horror Nights movies.
Yeah.
And I would have totally saw this movie if it would have came out at the right time. I feel like that they didn't give it the time of day that it deserved.
No, which is kind of sad because it, like I said when I recommended it last month, it's my favorite modern horror movie I've seen like in a long time. Like I definitely like this.
Wow.
Because it's fun. Like, it's not a scary movie. It's a PG-13 movie. It's not, like, it's not the scariest thing I've ever seen, but it's such an enjoyable movie that, like, I'll just put it on, even if I'm not in the mood for a horror movie, it's just a good movie. I would enjoy watching.
Yeah. It's a good thing when you have a horror movie that you relate to well enough to where you just put it on for stuff like that. I think it's another good one to show people who don't appreciate horror.
It's
you know, I used Insidious to introduce you, and I feel like this would have been just as effective to get you into horror way back then.
Yeah, because because it's PG-13 and it's based on kids' books, it's definitely geared for like this is meant to introduce like 12 or 13-year-old kids to horror.
Yeah, younger audiences. Mm-hmm.
That's true, and you know, I don't know if enough 12 or 13-year-old kids got to see it, unfortunately, but if they did, then you know, hopefully they're listening to this podcast.
Yeah, hopefully the youths love YouTube, so that they'll sub right away.
Yeah, the youth love clicking on 2-hour-long like rambling YouTube videos, and they definitely made it this far too.
Well, they clicked for the scary stories content, so.
Yeah, so they'll engage directly. They'll link the timestamp of this part of the conversation and be like, see, you're wrong. You're so wrong about me, and here's why.
All right, anything
All
else?
right. No, my notes are covered, I think. Let me double check, but I think
Mine's
I'm
all
good.
done.
Yep, my notes are done.
Yep, I am good. So we'll go into ratings.
Yep,
Ratings and then Rex. Ratings and Rex.
Well, we're talking about also if we watched anything in.
Yeah, I like the little in-between section, too. So we'll go quick, though.
All right, Jake, go ahead.
I'm gonna give it. I'll give it a 9. I think it's a very effective movie. I love that it took kind of like an IP or an already established story and turned it on its head and did a completely original story and like way to tell the source material. I thought that was really effective. I liked all the characters. I thought the acting was great. Like I said, the only thing that didn't make sense to me was the whole Vietnam kind of motif and that they kept alluding to, but it didn't hurt the story. I just didn't get why it was there.
I'm so ashamed that I didn't even notice that. I'm like, I really need to rewatch this, apparently.
Yeah, it's
because I feel like I missed it. Because if you're complaining about, go ahead.
No, you're fine. It's I really enjoy this movie, and like Trick or Treat, I think it's definitely going to become part of my yearly Halloween tradition to watch this.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
It's great that, and it just feels very timeless, and like the cinematography is fantastic. It's just such a
Yes.
gorgeous and fun movie that it yeah, it doesn't feel very like dated, or I don't think it's going to date very quickly like a lot of like Brightburn is going to be completely unwatchable in 5 years.
Yeah.
But like I think this movie, to me, it will stand the test of time and it will still feel fresh even in like 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to become a cult classic, I think. Tasha, you go next.
Okay. Well, at first I was going to give it an 8 until the ending, and then it kind of threw me because I just was a little unsatisfied with it. So my overall is going to be a 7. But I really enjoyed it. I could see myself rewatching it, and I really love the stories. Like when Molly gets a little bit older, I would like to show her the stories.
That's a good point. This is going to be a good one to introduce Molly into horror when she's like
And-
6.
Yeah.
Well, plus I want to show her the short stories because I really liked the short stories growing up as a kid. So my overall will be 7.
I can't wait for her to go into kindergarten and she's like show and tell or whatever. She's like, yesterday I watched scary stories to tell in the dark.
She can bring the book in for story time at preschool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Story
Yes.
time, and we'll be like, and then the monster stabbed her.
All right, Mike.
And then.
You're up.
So for me, I'm not going to dock a point like Tasha did, so I'm going to give it an 8. Comparatively, I don't think the ending bothered me quite as much as Tasha. She only deducted once. I know it didn't bother her a ton. It didn't bother me quite as much because I did think that like if I made this movie, I'd be so proud of it. So everybody that worked on it should be. I'm completely in agreement with Jake as far as the cinematography. I thought this movie, out of the 4 that we watched, had the best sound design. I like Happy Death Day a little bit better, so that's why I gave this one a 9 and that one a 9 and this one an 8. But as far as movies that I'd never seen for the podcast, this one's probably my favorite. Even though I'm giving it an 8, I feel like over time it might even go up to a 9. I thought, like I said, the sound design's great, and the acting. Sometimes what I forget when I'm watching movies like this is how young the people are that are working on it, and the fact that they act better than like what I could do if I practiced for years and years
Yeah.
or whatever. It's incredible. Just how these people can do, and I know that, the way that they cut the movies and edit them together, they're really good at that. But still, the acting is good, and the plot. It's a really difficult and risky thing to try to put together a bunch of short stories instead of making it into an anthology, making it like an It thing where like one monster is making all these personal nightmares for all these characters. And the thing is, there's always good reasons for them not to be together. They don't separate for no reason ever. So you never feel like why did you split up?
Yeah.
You never feel that way. Even at the psychology place where they split up. Like, I never felt like, the movie needed them to do this. I always felt like their motives were good for everything that they did. And yeah, I just thought it was a cut above most of the horror movies that, we watch for this podcast. And yeah, I think an 8 is a solid score for it. And I think it's actually might be a little low for it. But I can't give it a 9 because I honestly enjoy Happy Death Day a little bit better. And I gave it a 9.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Has anybody seen anything throughout the month
Well,
that's horror
I
related?
said in our group chat a couple weeks ago, but I watched Gremlins 2 for the first time. I love
Yeah.
that movie.
Oh, you might have to wreck it eventually.
Yeah, not this month. We need to get a little farther away from the Gremlins 1, but for sure I am going to recommend
Yeah.
this movie, no doubt.
Yeah, maybe for Christmas next year.
So I watched American Horror Story 1984, and actually it was one of the best seasons since Murder House.
Oh,
like,
really?
Start to finish.
Huh.
From start to finish. Like, usually by halfway through the season, I'm, like, done with it. Like, they just fall apart. But no, they keep going strong from start to finish.
That's good, because that's always my complaint about American Horror Story 2, is they set up some great stuff in the first couple episodes, and then they do nothing with it, or they kill off that person, and then it's just like the rest of the season just
Yeah.
kind of meanders and does nothing.
I only liked the first season. The second season was okay, and then I didn't like any of the other seasons.
Normally I don't binge, so basically I finished the season within a day and a half.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I haven't watched a ton of like non-podcast related horror content, but I have been reading a lot of graphic novels. I read Scott Pilgrim's finally, even though it's like one of my favorite movies.
Aren't there like
novels.
4 or 5 of those though?
Yeah, I read all of them.
There's 6 total.
There's 6 total. I read them all, and they were all 6 novels were incredible. I loved them, and yeah, so. I've also been, this last 2 weeks I worked 100 hours, so I haven't really had a lot of time to watch some bonus horror stuff aside from getting through my podcast obligations, getting those done.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I also watched La Llorona. Llorona, is that how you pronounce it?
Leona.
La Llorona.
I'm hooked on phonics.
Yeah,
La
I watched
Llorona.
that one, and I watched Ma, which Ma wasn't that bad.
You saw Ma? I didn't even know you watched that.
Yeah, I watched a couple weekends ago. It was not that
Really?
bad.
I hated it.
You didn't? Yeah, it was. I didn't. It's
Are
not
you gonna
what
wreck
no,
that one? Okay.
It wasn't
Not
that
right
good.
now. It's not what you It's not what you expect, and you hadn't watched it yet.
Yeah. Oh, you mean that Ma? I was talking about Mama.
No, Ma as
I like
in-
the one
The
with
crazy woman that like
lady where they go.
abducts the children or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta watch that one with my buddy Randy. We're the ones that drink beer and watch things.
But that is all that I've watched within this last month.
Yeah, maybe I need to get Randy in here.
No.
Randy or Pat, one of those two.
No.
We're trying to find a 4th person to add.
Well,
so.
maybe after I can have my 2 recommendations a month.
Yeah,
Maybe.
after
But
everyone
anyways.
gets to recommend 2, then.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll bring on a guest and they're not allowed to recommend one.
Then what's the point in them being on?
Because they have to watch all 4 and like review them with us.
Oh.
We
Okay,
could
anyways,
test out a
let's-
couple guests, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll test. We'll have some tryouts.
Maybe. But anyways, let's go ahead and get in the recommendations.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and recommend first because
Okay.
F you guys. I'm gonna recommend A Cure for Wellness. I saw it in theaters by myself, and fun fact: when I walked into the theater and I sat down, I started watching it. I literally thought that I accidentally sat in 50 Shades of Grey because it was in theaters at the same time, and it opened up as if it was that movie. And I was like, fuck. And there was all these people around me, and I'm like, oh no, I went to the wrong movie. I didn't pay attention to the little sign. But you guys will see at the beginning that you kind of think that might be what it is.
Great.
But it's not. There's no like bondage or anything in the beginning. I'm just talking about like there's nothing like that. It's just like it's this like gradient of things, and I'm just like, wait a minute. That was just back then though. I was like,
So I'll go ahead and go next. This is in the 90s. It has Robert Englund in it, and it's called Urban Legend. So it's pretty interesting. I've been waiting to show this one.
So Jake, have you seen that? Is that why you're going?
No, but I learned that I love urban legends after Candyman, so I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, you might like this one.
Are you excited for both of ours so far, or just
Yeah,
Tosh's?
I said in the group chat earlier, I was like, I did want to see Cure for Wellness in the theaters. I totally forgot that movie existed. But
Some BTS for you guys is like I let Jake choose my recommendation between a couple things because I got to recommend 2, and I knew he would hate them both, and I forced him to watch 2 movies he didn't like. So I was trying to recommend something Jake would like.
I didn't hate any of the movies this month. I actually like Happy Death Day.
He liked both of them. He gave them good scores.
Yeah.
So what's yours, Jake?
Well, my recommendation is a movie I like and have seen several times. It's John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay.
It's a good
I
one.
think I've only seen that once. It's been a while.
And then I'm
And-
channeling Josh's energy, and from Beyond the Grave, he's telling me he wants a fun 80s movie that might be terrible. So I'm
Okay.
also going to recommend Monster Squad.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
Okay. Wait, did Josh say something in group chat?
No,
Or
I'm just blaming Josh if the movie's bad.
Okay. We
Josh
love
has been-
monster trucks.
Josh has been MIA since the last month.
We haven't seen a single message from Josh. Like, he's just
Nah.
like, F you guys, F your podcast.
Oh,
Alright,
okay.
that's fine.
I'll let
Josh
y'all
is
go ahead and
one of the
talk.
subs, so he's dropped off now.
Wait. Okay, so, I guess now we'll have to... yeah, you unsubscribed. We got 14 now. I guess now Jake will have to tell us about his Wicked shirts.
Yeah, full disclosure, I haven't been very active on social media since Christmas. I've kind of been taking a break from the shirt because in my day job, I just started a new day job a couple months ago, and that's been taking up a lot of my time. But so I haven't put any new designs up for a few months, but they're still out there, you know, all the classics like the murder hotel rugs that may or may not be based on The Shining, the Camp Crystal Lake shirts, like any kind of like classic 80s horror you like, I probably have a shirt related to it. So if you are listening to this and you haven't checked out my shirts, go check them out, please. I would like that very much.
And they don't burn you in the hot sun. Don't forget about that.
They do not.
That's very important.
They do not, because they are not black.
They're not black.
A couple of them,
So you can wear them in Florida.
yeah, a couple of them come in black, but they also come in other colors as well.
And the mint color, I really like the mint color. The mint and green.
Mint green. It looks good on you. It doesn't look so good on me. I should have got a different color.
Yeah.
Because my skin tone makes me look retarded when I'm
Alright, I'll let y'all talk. I'm gonna go check them all.
Yeah. I love the design though. Alright guys, well thanks for listening this week, and yeah, subscribe if you haven't, like the video, God knows we need
Tell
it.
your friends.
And
if,
tell your friends.
if you know somebody that likes one of these movies or just likes horror in general and they're not listening, they might enjoy it, you know. You never know.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a drinking game next time. Every time we do something, then you have to take a drink. Every time we go, and I don't edit it out because I don't edit.
And if you want to be on the podcast, just leave a comment. And if it's not a bot telling us to sell ads on Instagram, then maybe we'll consider it or something.
All right, guys. Yeah, because that did happen, but they got Danny deleted. So. All right. Well, talk to you next month. Bye.
Bye.